Hey, hey, hey. Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to the Destiny Walkers Network Show. I am your host, Karis L. Reed. I am the CEO of Destiny Walkers Network, and I am super excited because we're back in action. We did not go live on last Wednesday, so welcome back to the Destiny Walkers Network Show. Today's guest is going to be the phenomenal professional speaker, Faye Fulton, and we're going to give her a few more minutes to come in. I came on a few minutes early just to share with you all the excitement. Of course, I wanted to put in our welcome jazz music. And in 2 minutes, we're going to go ahead and have our guests to begin our show. Again, so welcome. Thank you so much for coming in. Go ahead and let me know who you are and where you're chiming in from, and we will definitely give you a shout out. We got 2 more minutes, and actually 1 more minute, and our guest will be on the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me know who you are and where you're chiming in from. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Periscope, if you're on Facebook, any of the Facebook pages or Facebook Live, Karis L. Reed, or if you're on Twitter, say hello, introduce yourself. Let me know you're in the room, and I will give you a shout out. If those of you who don't know, I am Karis L. Reed, best-selling author, CEO of Destiny Walkers Network, CEO of The Purpose magazine, and so many other phenomenal things. But my heart and passion is empowering women to walk in purpose. Thus, the reason why this show is here. So let's give our guest 1 minute, and she will be on. Let me see if anybody is commenting. I know for a fact that I want to give a shout out to a very special lady who's dear to my heart, Candace Joseph with the Joseph Consulting Firm. Shout out to Candace. She is a phenomenal woman. She's always supported me. I love her to death, and she's actually going to be the September 2020 cover story for The Purpose magazine. I am super excited to be partner and collaborating with her, but I want to give a special moment to say thank you, Candace Joseph. I love you dearly for being so supportive and just open up your arms and your business to collaboration. You are the best. Also, Sabrina Calloway, you're always supporting me in my endeavors. Shout out to you as well. So anyone else, go ahead and let me know who you are and where you're chiming in from, and we could get rocking and rolling when our guests come in. Today's guest is Faye Fulton. She is a professional speaker of 22 years, and we're just going to hear what she has to say about the speaking game. Let me make sure nobody's commenting. To all my Facebook Live family, powerful women, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you. Let me make sure I am hot in the seat on these pages. I know it says I'm live, but I don't see it yet. And I need to go out and come back. Let me know who you are, where you're chiming in from. Okay, there we go, there we go, there we go. I see it. Now let me check on my guest and make sure she was able to get the link to get in. All right, here she is. Let's cut that off. All right, let's bring her in. Hey, Faye.
Karis, hi, how are you?
I can't hear you. Let me see. Make sure your mic
Hold on.
is not. Make sure your mic is not muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hold on. Sometimes I just need.
Now it says it's muted. Maybe, you know what? Hold on, dear. I know what it was. I fixed it. Go ahead and unmute your mic. Unmute your mic.
Okay. How is that? Can you hear me now?
That's better. It may have been my part because I had my volume down.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
I can't hear you.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I
don't know what to do about that.
Let me see. Let me see.
I just can't hear you.
That's weird. If anybody on Facebook Live can hear me, put a thumbs up or a heart and let me see how we can fix this. I may have to go out and come back in. Let me see. Let me see. Can you see yourself on Facebook Live, Faye? Oh, she can't hear me, of course. That's really weird. Let me see if someone's letting me know if they can hear me. I turn my volume up. This is crazy. Let me see. Muting the mic. That's muting your mic. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get this. Let me see. That's muting the mic. Huh. That's weird, Faye. Okay. I guess we can go out and come back in. You want to try that? It's not. You can't hear me. Okay.
I don't know what you said. Can you send me a message on Facebook? Yeah.
I'll send you a message in here. I'll message you privately. No problem. And come back in. Thank you guys so much for coming in. We appreciate your patience. Let me send this message to her. If you guys can hear me on Facebook, let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me on Facebook, let me know you can hear me. Hi, Karis. You can hear me? Okay. Then it must be on her end. Facebook. Let me let her know. Yes, ma'am. Okay, she's going to go out and come back in. She's going to go out and come back in because everybody's saying they can hear me. Hello, Mr. Basie. Please forgive me. I cannot pronounce your name, but Mr. Basie, you're going to have to tell me how to pronounce your first name, dear. David C. Butler, Marty Cooney, thank you all for chiming in. I appreciate you all. Okay, Faye's going to go out and come back in. She's going to go out and come back in. I removed her, so hopefully when she comes back in, we'll be able to hear her this time. Okay, let's see.
Now I can hear me.
You can hear me? Woo-hoo! Yay! The power of the internet. All right.
Got it.
Awesome. So welcome, guys, to the Destiny Walkers Network show. We have a phenomenal special guest, Faye Fulton. I am super excited. She is a professional speaker of 22 years, but I'm not going to tell all her excitement. I'm going to give you the floor, Faye, and let you introduce yourself, and then we'll jump right in.
Thank you so much, Karis. And first, I want to say thank you for inviting me on your show. Yes, as Karis mentioned, I have been a keynote speaker for over 22 years. And my area of expertise has always been communication. So I've been very fortunate to have my career revolve around communication. But over the last 5 years, I have niched that. So now, with my consulting firm and with my speaking, I only talk about one particular kind of communication, and that is business storytelling.
Okay. Awesome.
And I got interested in storytelling. You know, I think this was meant to be, because I got interested in storytelling at a very, very early age. And it is my passion.
I'm going to stop you right there because I don't want you to get ahead. I'm going to ask you that exciting journey. Oh my goodness. And actually, that's the first question I want to ask you. Okay. Today's topic, guys, is finding purpose as a speaker. And so with Miss Faye, as I read your bio, which is so beautiful, it said you grew up in Italy. That is like the bomb.com, because first of all, I always wanted to go to Paris, Italy, or was it Italy, Paris? Okay, I might need to go back to English school. But my name is Karis, so when I grew up, I said I want to go to Paris. It's it's kind of corny, but I always had this desire to go to Italy. So tell us about your experience in Italy and how this phenomenal woman who was an opera singer took you under her wing and your journey began with storytelling. Let's start with that.
Okay. Well, yes, I grew up in Italy, and my father was a corporate bigwig, and he got this amazing promotion. So before I was almost 6 years old, so before I was 6, we moved to Italy. So I grew up in Palermo, which is actually the mafia capital of the world.
Woo, okay.
Yeah. But so I moved, with my family to this new country. We didn't know the language. We didn't know anything. And it was so fabulous to me. I've always loved adventure, even as a kid.
Yes.
And so you mentioned you haven't been to Europe, so you might not know, but in all of the major European cities, most people live in high-rise apartment buildings. And that's what we did. We occupied the top floor, and my neighborhood was 3 high-rise apartment buildings. And that's how I met the Contessa.
Wow.
She was a very famous European opera singer.
Wow.
And when I met her, she had retired. And after she retired, she acquired that disease called agoraphobia, where you cannot leave your home. So she was often out on her balcony, but she never left her apartment. And that's how I met her. Now, the Italy of today is very different of the Italy back then, because back then but back then very, very, very few Americans lived in Italy. And so it was the news of the neighborhood when we moved in. I was such a big tomboy. I was outside all the time. No one else in my family was like that. I met everybody. I knew everybody. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, we've got an American girl in our neighborhood. So it was a big deal. Anyway, so one day the Contessa simply called down to me and she said, I keep hearing about you and I'd like to meet you.
Wow.
And that's how it started. She just took me under her wing. She had never had children of her own, but she treated me like I was her daughter. We had such an amazing, really close, special relationship. And, Karis, I think about this all the time. I was so fortunate to find her there. I think she was just waiting for me.
Wow, divine connection.
But I needed it so much. That's why I'm so grateful. I actually grew up with 2 families. My American family, and then my other family was the Contessa. I don't know what I would have done without her.
Yes.
And, don't get me wrong. I love my parents dearly. But they were not giving me what I needed as a kid, what I craved. And what I'm saying is my parents were never touchy-feely. They didn't talk about feelings. And the other thing is they didn't talk with me. They talked at me.
Wow, come on.
They'd say, you know what time dinner is, be home.
Yes.
Did you do your homework? We're leaving early tomorrow. You ready? So I always had questions. I'm still such a curious person. And my answer usually from my parents is, because I said so.
Yep.
But then I'd go down to the Contessa's apartment and I'd ask her. She'd take an hour, 2 hours to really explain.
Wow.
She's the one who taught me about life. And she taught me so many things. She was amazing. I miss her to this day. She taught me about music, about architecture, about food, about song. I couldn't have asked for anyone better. And I actually grew up with 2 families, an American and an Italian family.
Wow.
And I would not trade my childhood with anyone.
For real. Yes, you had the best of both worlds. Oh my gosh. And I want to touch on the point where you said how your family talked at you and not to you. And believe it or not, that is still going on today. And a lot of children are growing up not knowing how to effectively communicate. And it becomes a cycle, and then they do it to their children and so on. So, yeah.
Exactly. And as a child, That's really hard to understand.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a question, you want an answer,
Mm-hmm.
but you never seem to get the answer. But now, of course, as an adult, I look back and I love my parents dearly. Like I said, please don't get me
Yes.
wrong.
Yes,
I
of
think
course.
they were doing the best they could.
Mm-hmm.
They just weren't really giving, touchy feeling people. But
Yes.
that's what
Yes.
I needed. That's what I
That's
needed.
right. Right. Oh, that's so beautiful. Now, are you a mother? Let me jump ahead of myself. Are you a mom?
No, sweetie, no. But I will tell you this. I am really, really close to two of my nieces, and they
Awesome.
might as well be my own daughters.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I can't imagine life without them. So I do have children in my life, but they're not technically my own. Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Well, that was an amazing story. So did Miss, I'm sorry, what was her name? Your second mom?
Her name was Contessa Pignatelli. So
Wow.
just say Contessa, you know.
Let me talk Italy. Contessa. Is that how you say Contessa? Oh my goodness. Okay, beautiful,
Contessa.
beautiful, beautiful. So did she, as your bond with her grew and it was so close, did she read you stories out of a book, or she just told you her wonderful stories about her life and her childhood?
Oh, woman, it was so fabulous. No books, no books.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. You know, she was a famous opera singer, and all of her friends were also performers,
Wow.
musicians, actors, singers, dancers. And when she stopped going out into the world, they would come to her.
Oh.
And these were people from all over the world, all performers from everywhere. And
Yeah.
those people were amazing storytellers. So as a really young child, I started listening to stories from all around the world, from people from all different backgrounds, different religions, different cultures. And I
Wow.
was fascinated, fascinated. I still am. Which is why I'm a communicator. People fascinate me.
Yeah.
And I've always been just surrounded by diversity. I can't imagine life without it. There were people from every part of the world.
Wow.
And it was just sensational.
It's amazing. Oh my gosh, this is so awesome that your childhood was like a like a, what do you call it? A Cinderella story almost. It's like you had all these famous opera singers. Like who gets that as a child? I mean, like that is so cool.
I'm telling you, I would not exchange my childhood with
I
anyone. I
know.
thought it was fabulous.
Man, it was amazing. And so as you got groomed into this, little girl as a effective communicator, and you got the opportunity to be able to be loved and, touched and nurtured. As you grew up, it says decades later, you began storytelling. So as she groomed you in your love for storytelling, tell us how, even as a teenager, did you start as a teenager with, telling stories in school? How did that transform from that 6-year-old girl until your first storytelling opportunity?
Well, my mother used to tease me and tell me that I came out of the womb as a performer. So that's something I've always that I've always done.
Yes.
She tells the story. Now, I don't remember it because I was 4. But the first time she can remember me on stage was before we moved to Italy. I was 4.
Okay.
And at the church we went to, they had all of the little children in the church recite a Bible verse. And they did it in the front of the church.
Yes.
So now it was me and my older sister. At that time, my younger sister was too young to do this. But me and my older sister were going to get up in front of the whole congregation.
Oh.
And Mother said, I practiced for hours every night. I mean, I had mine down.
Wow.
And I was ready to go on. And my older sister, she hardly ever practiced. She didn't really want to do it. But I was excited about doing this. So my sister gets up there. She says her Bible verse. And then it was my turn.
Yes.
And I got up there. And Mother's like, okay, she's going to nail it because she's so hurt. I got up there in front of everybody. I said, God loveth a chipper gipper. Instead of saying, God loveth a cheerful giver.
The chipper giver.
That's all I had to do. And the house roared. I was hooked. I was hooked. I loved the laughter. I loved it. So since then, I mean, in high school, I was the president of the drama club. You know,
Yes.
I was on stage in many, many ways. But then for my professional career, I did not want to be an actress. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I loved the stage. I loved performing. But for my professional career, I was a corporate trainer.
Okay.
I started working in the corporate world as a corporate trainer. And then I left the corporate world and started my own business. And that's when I started traveling extensively. I was on the road 3 weeks out of every month. And I worked in all 50 states, in the UK, in Puerto Rico. I was on the road.
Yes.
And loved my work, loved it. But I was really burnt out with the travel.
Mm.
And of course, traveling for business is so different than traveling for pleasure.
Yes.
So I was speaking and training people, all-day training sessions. But it was at that point when I really got burnt out on so much travel that I decided that I would do speaking exclusively.
Awesome.
And of course, that's where I'm at today, is being a keynote speaker.
Yes.
But also with my expertise of business storytelling, you know, I also work as a business storytelling consultant.
Yes.
So I work one-on-one with individuals to help them find, craft, and perfect their stories.
Yes, yes. And I was going to get into that also. And so in your bio, you said you spent decades unfolding, shall I say, the art and craft, you know, the art and science of professional speaking to help business owners, you know, storytell. So was it, you know, of course, I know it was the love of your storytelling as a child, but was it the exhaustion of the business travel that you said, you know what, I'm going to stop, you know, working for the corporate and let me do what I love best and begin helping others craft their stories? And is that where you birthed your consulting, boutique consulting firm?
Well, I decided to leave the corporate world because it was never a good fit for me. And what I mean, I don't really know why, but in the corporate world, for some reason, I always had horrible bosses.
Oh, tell me
and I
about
mean, these were not good people inside.
Wow.
You know, they weren't trained to be a leader. They didn't know how to manage, but they weren't good people. And the lack of integrity really got to me. And I decided I've got to leave. I've got to leave here. And that's when I started my own speaking and consulting business. And yes, after years of so much travel, then I was ready to not travel as much.
Exactly.
So, you know, I still have to go to my audience. My audience never comes to me as a keynote speaker,
yes.
But I do not travel anywhere near as much. So
you're doing what you love as you travel, and it's for you. It's your business. It's for your, you know, your passion, and it's your purpose, because you didn't find the happiness in corporate America. You found the fulfillment and happiness helping others and speaking as your purpose. Am I right?
Well, that's it.
Awesome.
Because I'm there to serve.
Yes.
I have a distinct body of knowledge. I have years of experience, and I know I can help. And I do help. You know, that's what just fills your heart when you know you have to help someone.
Yes. And that's why I often say that purpose is, you know, it's not how many likes you have on social media. It's not, you know, a large following. It's unfolding those passions and gifts, creating resources and serving the people who you were called to serve, to help them become, you know, who they were created to be, other speakers, other storytellers. And so it's so phenomenal that you found your purpose as a professional speaker. Now, you said that you're a professional speaker. I'm not sure if you said what type of speaking. Did you tell me what type of speaking? Because And I say this because some are empowerment speakers like me, some are motivational speakers, some are instructional speakers. Do you fit in one of those categories, or you're just separate as a professional speaker, storyteller?
No, I will fit into one of those categories, but I am a keynote speaker.
Keynote speaker, right?
So I speak at conferences, association meetings, business meetings. I'm usually in a room speaking to 500, 800, 1,000 people because I'm a keynote speaker.
Yeah.
But I am also an instructional speaker.
Gotcha.
And today, unfortunately, and I say unfortunate for very specific reasons, but over the last 5 years, the words story and storytelling have become buzzwords in business. And everyone now, because story is a buzzword, is talking about story. But very, very few people actually understand what story is.
Wow.
People are talking about story, but they're not using it correctly. And very seldom are they using it in an impactful way.
Come on.
So because of this buzzword thing and everyone's talking about story, in my keynotes today, I spend a lot of time educating people as to what story actually is.
Okay.
Because I'm just amazed at what people are calling story. And that's all it is. It doesn't even come close to being story, but they're calling it story.
Wow.
And just people are just so confused.
Wow.
But this is how I can help the team, how I can help the person. When I'm coaching one-on-one, I'm usually working with a CEO, a business owner, a power professional who either needs to make a presentation in front of a group, a presentation at a meeting. They need to present in front of an investor.
Wow.
There are many reasons to use business stories.
Okay.
But their area of expertise is something completely different.
Right.
They have an MBA. My degrees aren't in business. I offer something that they don't have. That's what fulfills me. They might be a CPA. They might be really good at accounting. I'm not. I hire a CPA because that's not my area.
Yeah.
That's how I can help them.
You're the piece to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're the piece to their puzzle that they're missing. Like you are the answer to their prayer. You are the answer to what keep them up at night when they're trying to figure out how to present to this, the corporation or to this investment. So, Wayne, you rock. Give us an example of how can I say it? I want to hear this because I hear so many people, like you say, use storytelling as a buzzword, and then I actually follow a few storyteller professionals online. So I want to hear from the expertise of you. What is storytelling the effective way, the correct way, and then what is storytelling the wrong way?
Well, we don't have enough time for that. I will give you some glimpses, but we don't have enough time for that. I'll tell you what happens these days, Karis, is I first I like to start by sharing what storytelling is not.
Okay.
Because so many people are confused.
Right.
And what happens, and this is what I do with my keynotes, I talk about what storytelling is not. I kind of reel everybody in. Gotcha. But I know they're confused. There's just a confusing time because of the buzzword. But with when I'm working one-on-one, the CEO will come to me and say, okay, my team tells me, I'm making a presentation. My team has told me I have to have a story. So they don't even understand from the get-go. Wow. So I ask them, no, but this is what I love. I love educating and sharing my knowledge. So it's wonderful. But the first thing I'll say is, well, I would like you to give me your definition of story. Okay. And I do this in my keynotes also. There'll be 500, 800 people in the room, and I'll say, okay, can anyone give me the definition of story? And invariably, this is the answer I get. All right, story. Well, story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Mm-hmm. And that's their definition. Well, yes, it does. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, but that doesn't get us any closer to understanding the story. Even a cockroach and Thanksgiving dinner has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Yes, but that's the answer I always get. So, we've got to start from pretty much ground zero. It's like, we've got to take away this confusion. Okay. So, story is not a list of bullet points. Story is not your mission statement. Story is not 2 lines under the picture of every person on your team, but people will call that story. Wow. Story has certain components that must be there, or you don't have anything near story. So it's just
Yeah.
crazy. But so often it's harder to unlearn something than to
Yes.
learn something from scratch. So I'm so aware of this that's how I start my keynotes these days. We've got to get to the nuts and bolts.
Yes.
So
Awesome.
now here's an example. Let me share this with you and your listeners. What if I shared this with you? She put on her crimson red lipstick, stepped into her black stiletto heels, selected the perfect hat for the occasion, strapped the kids into the backseat of the car, and drove off toward downtown. Now, when I was sharing that with you, here's one of the reasons story is so powerful. When I was sharing that with you, you weren't just sitting there listening to me.
Right.
Because you were forming an image of this woman inside of your head.
Yes.
You could see the woman, couldn't you?
Yes. Yes.
Well, that is what every human does. And that's one of the reasons storytelling is such a powerful communication tool. The reason is stories are co-created. So you're actually a co-creator. I'm telling you the story. You're creating that image of it in your head, and your story will never match mine because I have no idea what's going on in your head.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you this. What kind of hat was that woman wearing in your mind?
Oh my goodness. Like one of those beach floppy sun hats.
Like a big rim thing, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, not at all.
Oh wow.
Not what I was sharing. No, this is why it's so powerful. You created that image.
This is amazing.
But actually, that woman was wearing a Christmas hat. And she was taking her two daughters downtown to see the Christmas decorations that day.
Wow.
But that is another reason story is so powerful.
Yes.
Because you're co-creating it in your mind, you're going to remember it. We remember stories. And we remember that vision we created inside of our minds.
Yes.
Now, I want to be perfectly clear with you and certainly with every one of your listeners. What I just shared is not story. That is not story. In fact, it doesn't come anywhere close to being story.
Wow.
Now, it could develop into story, but it's going to take an awful lot of work.
Yes. Okay.
Because what I just shared there is simply a series of events. That is not story. Not story. So, so this is what I'm up against, Karis. I have to real people. Like, I've got to be sure you know what story is, but I can't explain that in 5 minutes. It takes quite a bit of time.
I mean, just what you just shared with us was like mind-blogging. It's understandable. It makes sense. And like I say, when I hear the word storytelling, it's a buzzword. And I've probably been telling stories the wrong way. I'm just going to be the first to admit it.
But that was before you met me, right?
Yes, before I met you. Yes.
So now you know who to go to. No, I'm just kidding you.
Yes, definitely. So tell us about your storytelling championships. How did you get involved in this as a speaker and storyteller? And I see you've been doing it for a while, but it's congratulations, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
It's always a thrill. Well, the thing is, I was out there traveling and conducting corporate all-day seminars or speaking at conferences. And I also started storytelling. Story is just a part of me. So I have been a featured storyteller at many, many storytelling festivals. And it's a very different way to work with story because that's story as sheer entertainment.
Yes.
And of course, that's not what we do in the business world. We're working with story in a very different way. In the business world, we work with story strategically. Now, I am also a published author.
Yes.
And I will only tell stories that I write myself.
Okay.
Because that's the journey I want.
Yes.
I always want to be challenged and I want to grow. But I have a lot of storytelling friends at a storytelling festival that'll get up and tell an Aesop fable. And I'm so uninterested in that. So I tell stories about the human experience but they're all stories that I write myself.
Awesome.
And part of that, this is story for sheer entertainment, is I, whenever I hear about a story slam, I will usually go, if it's close to me. And in my bio, it states that I am the Moth Story Slam champion. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that podcast, The Moth.
I'm not.
It's a big deal. So that was such an honor to win that.
Congratulations.
So anyway, but like I said, story is my passion, and there are many different ways to work with stories. Awesome. So that's story for sheer entertainment.
Awesome. Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so a question about the corporations and associations that you speak for over the last 22 years, do they look for specific storytelling, or do they look for someone to come in and instruct their audience or their corporation on how to tell, their stories, or how do you get into that as far as finding those speaking engagements for those particular platforms?
Well, it's the latter one you mentioned.
Okay.
Because when I'm speaking at an association or a business meeting, they want me to come in and educate their team, their people.
Okay.
So I'm training them on the skill of business storytelling.
Gotcha.
Now, it's not true training when I'm giving a keynote, because, it's not as interactive.
Yes.
But I also go into corporations and I will spend the whole day training their team on the skill of business storytelling.
Okay.
And, that's the kind of keynote speaker I am. I'm an informational keynoter. Wow. And they're always interested in continuous education. They wanted their team to have as many skills as possible to be competitive. And of course, today in the 21st century, storytelling is an essential business skill. But most people are horrible at it. They're not even telling a story,
they're telling a list of events.
Not a story. But that's why they don't get the results that they think they're going to get, because they're not even working with anything close to story. They're simply calling it story. And most people, when you hear the word story, most people will flash back to their childhoods. Because most parents would put their children to sleep by reading them a story.
Right.
We're so familiar with story, which is why it adds to the confusion. We're so familiar with it. And most people think they understand story until they try to write one. And then they're like, whoa, then they're completely overwhelmed. Well, yeah, it's a very specific skill set. Like any skill, you're going to have to learn it. But, we just feel so close to story.
Yes.
We started when we were kids. Yes. But there's quite a bit to it. It takes a lot of skills to be a very good storyteller.
Oh, I can imagine. And you have those skills. And that's why the boutique consulting firm was developed, because you are the one that needs to be out teaching us and teaching all the other professional speakers how to get it right so we can make more money. I mean, that's what it's our profession, right? Oh, God, it's awesome.
We're all strong in areas and we're weak in others.
Right. That's
right. This is what I can offer. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's beautiful. So you traveled to all 50 states. You had an amazing childhood, like a fairy tale that was real. And I'm jealous now. It was a beautiful, beautiful childhood experience. And so you spent decades teaching others the art and science of storytelling and public speaking. And so as an author, before we end the broadcast, what is the title of your books? Where can they find your books from? Are they instructional books? Are they, I know you say they're storytelling, they're real actual storytellings for you. So I don't know if that question made sense or not, but where can we find your books?
Well, I'm currently working on my second book. So right now I have one book available, and it's not an instructional book. It is a book of stories.
Okay.
So the title of my book is Sicilian Stories, Living Just Off the Toe of Italy's Boot.
Wow.
So it's a collection of stories about my childhood growing up in Italy.
Beautiful.
And when I was in Italy, as I mentioned at the beginning of our broadcast, as most people know, Palermo, Sicily, is the mafia capital of the world. And growing up, I was almost killed by the mafia 3 times.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, one of the stories in my book is about one of those occasions coming up against the mafia.
Oh, wow.
And that happened when I was 9 years old. But anyway, it is a collection of stories growing up in Italy.
Wow, man, I almost want to call them savages. Who does that to a child? Oh my gosh. Goodness. Oh, wow. You are
Well,
an amazing, phenomenal woman who is just a jewel to this earth. And I'm so glad that I found you. I'm so glad we connected on LinkedIn and, or that's the wrong language, is developing a relationship. So
you are
I
so dear.
Oh, thank you very much. I looked on your IG page, and before we leave, I know I keep saying before we leave, one of the posts said, people don't buy products and services, they buy relationship, and stories are magic. I
Yes.
love that post. Could you end the broadcast with why that is so important about the relationships with people and versus the products and services?
I'll be so happy to do that. That is a quote from Seth Godin.
Wow.
And it is so true. People don't buy products or services. They buy relationships. And one of the reasons business storytelling is so powerful is when you can communicate with a business story,
Mhm.
you form connection with people. And how many times have you heard we do business with people we know, trust, and respect?
Yeah.
Well, that's one more reason business stories are so impactful and
Mm.
so powerful, because with a story, you can start to build that relationship, form the connection.
Wow. That's
Yes,
powerful.
story is amazing for
Wow.
so many reasons. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And I believe a couple of months ago, maybe even last month, I put a picture on my Facebook page of me walking with some clients, and I just put it in the caption of how it's important to build relationships versus just shoving your product and service into their face and say, "Hey, buy this, buy that." And so I'm working on it. I'm working on that, and I'm improving. I'm evolving, and I can always learn and get better in every area of my life. So I'm so glad I have you as a friend now and that we're building a relationship. So I look forward
Thank you.
to other opportunities to collaborate with you versus, on your show and, whatever the divine connection leads us to. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for this opportunity to share your wonderful story and your passion about professional speaking and professional storytelling. You are amazing and you're doing an amazing job with your boutique consulting firm. I put into the caption where they can find you, www.faithfulton.com. Your Facebook is of course, facebook.com/Faith Fulton. Your Instagram is instagram.com, faithfulton_speaker. So please, guys, connect with Miss Faith Fulton on whatever level that you desire. Visit her website and get a consultation to develop your storytelling in business even deeper and possibly some speaking. So thank you so much again, Ms. Faye. I appreciate your time. Guys, join us again on next week's show as we will be speaking. Actually, I will be speaking myself, all things purpose. Until then, go ahead and email contact@destinywalkersnetwork.com to be on the show. Thank you, Ms. Faye. I love you dearly, and we'll be
Thank you.
connecting very, very soon. You have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.